Professor Natalie Cox. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for the invitation. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yes, of course. And just to start off, just tell anyone who may not know who you are on campus, just a little bit about you, your role with SEED, RSBC. I mean, you do so many different things, so give a little general overview.
So my name is Natalie Cox, and I manage corporate relationships as well as the internship program in the School of Business. I am part of the SEED office, which is Student Engagement, Empowerment, and Development. And we are a resource to all School of Business students to assist you in that professional development, preparing for your next interview, for post-graduation employment, just helping you to develop and develop those skills that are necessary to give your best in your next opportunity.
Awesome, thank you. And when it comes to, I guess, like the necessary skills, what would you say that the necessary skills you think are, all students need, no matter, what specific major it is, the things that is like, you have to get this in line if you really want to see yourself develop?
So one of the foundational competencies that I think you really need to develop is confidence.
That's a big one. That's a good one, yeah.
It is. So many students are a little apprehensive. They're looking for a job. They're looking for an internship. They don't really have the confidence in what they're bringing to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you've worked at Chipotle or Wawa, there are transferable skills that you can use in your next opportunity.
Yeah.
And you've got to recognize that even if you were flipping burgers or working the cash register, you still have valuable skills that another employer can use.
Yeah.
So you've got to really understand what those are and then be confident about what you bring to the table, even if you've never worked in your field of study. Confidence is foundational because people can read whether you're confident.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't believe in what you bring to the table, why should they?
That's a really good point, because I've even seen that just going from junior to senior year.
Mm-hmm.
So much of it is just about how you present yourself.
Absolutely.
I think sometimes it even comes across in resumes when people are writing their resumes and how they describe what they do. I think tells so much about how they see, what they do.
And that's key. So one of the things that I always recommend is that students refer to what's called the Job and Internship Guide.
Okay.
Give the Campus Career Center a plug right here.
Yeah.
This is a tool that they offer. It's available on their website.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you some guidelines for developing that powerful resume. It gives you some examples of power words that you should use in a resume.
Interesting.
It kind of gives you some examples of how to identify the transferable skills from previous employment and
mm-hmm.
how you apply that to your pursuits current day. But that's a resource that is really helpful in assisting you develop a resume that's going to really speak to a recruiter or
mm-hmm.
prospective hiring manager.
That's interesting. I have to check that one out.
Check it out.
Yeah, I gotta get mine in line.
Yes.
And I know we were talking about. I wanted to ask you about this so other people can hear about this, because I didn't know about it when you told me about the applicant tracking system. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So another tip that I always give students. So everybody does their resume, and you think it's like the best thing since sliced bread, and
the formatting's all perfect and everything.
Everything's perfect. You don't want to change anything. Mm-hmm. Well, in today's environment, this is 2023.
Yeah.
You have to customize your resume for every job that you apply to.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your basic standard resume, and that's fine. But for each job that you apply for, you need to tweak that resume to align with the job description for the role that you're applying for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So it's not rewriting your resume. It's just using some of the keywords from the job description and making sure that those that apply are also represented in your resume. And we're not lying, we're not fabricating, we're not embellishing, but using the terminology that's used in the job description, making sure that that appears in your resume. Because when you apply online, everything is done, everything's digital, it's not paper automated on a desk automatically. So you want to make sure that the key terms that the employer has identified in their job description appear in your resume, so that when that application tracking system does its thing, the algorithms that they're using, it's picking up the matches between the job description and your resume.
Yeah, so there's like a buffer of the algorithm before you even get to the employer.
Exactly.
Okay.
So Typically, they set a threshold of match that they require.
Mm-hmm.
And, it could be 50%, it could be 30%, whatever that threshold is. Only those resumes that either meet that match requirement or exceed it will ever even get to somebody's desk to review. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The rest are kind of lost in the black hole of cyberspace or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make sure that those matches exist. And the way you do that, you're making sure that what the employer is looking for aligns with either what you've done, what you've studied, the competencies that you have, the experience that you have, making sure that those match.
So there's a danger in just having your resume and then just pressing hit submit on every single one you see on Handshake.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah,
and I get so many requests from students. They say, "Oh, I've applied for 20 jobs and I haven't gotten any responses back." And this is one of the reasons why you may not have received responses back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, again, I plug that job and internship guide, because you want to use language that's going to resonate with hiring managers. It's going to resonate with recruiters.
Mm-hmm.
And this is next level thinking. It's not just, that I work the cash register. You've got to use the language of the industry. So when you work the cash register, okay, so you've developed cash management skills.
Mm-hmm.
So if you, work the register at Wawa, so you were a customer service representative.
Yeah.
You provided customer service and satisfaction. So those are the terms that would resonate with a hiring manager. And of course, as you get deeper into, some of the specific majors like accounting or finance, there's language that aligns with those industries as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to make sure you're using those in your resume.
Yeah. And when it comes to the soft skills on a resume, how do you communicate those? What's the importance of those, you think, in the grand equation?
So they're very important. We hear all the time from employers that, they hesitate because they can hire a 4.0 student anytime,
Mm-hmm.
with a 4.0 GPA. But we've heard from specific employers, they've hired students or graduates with a 4.0 GPA that couldn't do basic functions, couldn't have a conversation, a face-to-face conversation with a colleague or with a manager or with the vice president.
Mm-hmm.
So those soft skills are very, very important. How do you articulate those on your resume? I would say just like you would articulate anything else.
Mm-hmm.
When you are writing the skills portion or section of your resume, and you're including some of those skills that you've developed maybe through previous internships or volunteer work or even in some of your courses, include some of those soft skills as well and examples of them that you've used in different scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
They will always come up in an interview.
Yeah.
So in an interview, the employer can obviously read your resume. Okay, that's just a formality. They're going to want to hear from you examples of what you've done, how you've made a difference,
Mm-hmm.
those success events that you've had in previous either employment or volunteer opportunities. That's where you're going to get a chance to just showcase what you bring to the table, shine, dazzle them,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully get hired.
Yeah.
So.
And do you think that for maybe those students, those young people that may not have some of the soft skills that they need to develop them, it may be a growth for opportunity, do you think that internships play a role in kind of developing those?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I encourage, even though students aren't able to earn academic credit through internships until the second semester of your sophomore year, I encourage students even as early as freshmen to start thinking about internships, start thinking about volunteer opportunities where you're going to get yourself into a professional environment, into the business environment, and just get used to what's needed there. The software that's used, just being in an office space with cubicles and things. It's different than being in a classroom. And until you actually enter that space, it's going to be unfamiliar territory for you. But those are the spaces where you're going to develop those soft skills. You're going to see how things work, how things operate, how employees interact, how your behavior should be in the professional environment, how you should dress, your appearance, all those things that you're not going to necessarily learn from a textbook. You're not going to learn in your accounting class. You're not going to learn in that corporate finance class. But you're observing this in real time, and that's going to set the example for what you should be doing.
And those can, I mean, you can learn those things in so many different arenas. It may not be that the internship that you get is exactly what you're going to be doing for the rest of your
Right.
career.
It probably won't be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beauty of completing multiple internships during your Rutgers career, because you're going to get an opportunity to see different sizes of corporations or firms,
Mm-hmm.
different in the environment within the organization, the corporate culture. You'll get to see all of that from
Mhm.
different perspectives, different companies. Every company is different.
Yeah.
And the more you see, the more you witness, the more you're going to be able to identify what's going to be the best fit for you. So you might be the type of person that you're more comfortable with a smaller company,
Mm-hmm.
just a smaller setting, or you might go for the big companies that have, offices all over the country and that kind of thing. You're going to get a feel for what's going to be the best fit for you once you get your foot in the door, once you start doing those internships or volunteering or experience-ships.
Mhm.
Whatever's going to get you in that space, that's where you're going to learn about the actual environment and become more familiar with it.
And I can say that I'm in the process of doing that now.
Yes,
So
you
what you're
are.
saying is 100%
Yes,
true.
you are.
And when it comes to that, that idea that, the place that you're working, even if it's your first time job, it may not be where you work for the rest of your life.
Oh, no,
How do you-
especially now.
Yeah. How do you think that transfers into the job search coming out of college? When people, I know for me, I'm like, the field that I'm working in, is this what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life? Like, should that even be a consideration for me?
So absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
So you got in college, you're between 18 and I'd say 25. Most students are between that age group.
Mm-hmm.
You are not expected to know everything you need to know for the rest of your life
Mm-hmm.
at this age. You're just not. There's no way.
Yeah.
So many people will graduate college, they'll get a degree in, say, accounting. They may work in the accounting industry for 5 or 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
may realize, okay, this is really not what I want to do. So, 10 years in, they might say, okay, I want to do something completely different. Or
Mhm.
maybe their life priorities have changed and they're interested in going in a different direction. That happens as well. And it's okay. It's okay. So in the professional skills courses, we used to do a professional panel where we used to invite industry professionals from different backgrounds to come and talk about their career path. Most of them are not in the industry that they earn their degree for.
Really?
Most of them.
That's interesting.
Most people have had somewhat of a zigzagged career path,
Mm-hmm.
and it's okay.
And I imagine versatility comes into play there, right?
Versatility comes into play. That's a life skill
Mm-hmm.
that you're going to need in every aspect of life. You've got to be able to basically spin on a dime and go in a different direction and still be successful in doing so.
Mm.
We can't be so rigid and so fixed that we're only on this one path, because life happens.
Yeah.
We just came out of, or we're still coming out of, a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Life had to pivot for everybody.
And sometimes industries change. Like some industries got wrecked by that.
Exactly.
That's
Industries change, technology changes, which means industries have to change to keep up with technology.
Yeah.
So we have to be, flexible enough to be able to kind of go with the flow, be experts in our field, but be able to go with the flow and change with the times, with the technology and the industry.
And would you say that in terms of being flexible, does that require knowing yourself and knowing exactly,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's from the door. So, you go into a job interview, and I get a lot of students that ask, okay, well, what do I do in a job interview? How can I be make sure that I'm successful? The first thing is to know your story. That's like the number one advice I give. Know your story.
Know your story, okay.
Because you have to know the value that you bring. They're not just going to ask you about what's on the resume.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you worked at ABC company and you did XYZ. Okay, that's great. That's on the resume.
Yeah.
But they're going to ask you to tell me about an experience when you did this or when this happened. So you have to know yourself, recall some of those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
When they ask you about the value that you bring, you have to be comfortable enough in sharing, okay, yes, I can do this. This is what I've done. This is the value that I brought to my previous employer.
Mm-hmm.
And really be comfortable enough sharing and talking about yourself. A lot of people don't like to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
And that's normal.
Mm-hmm.
But in this space, you have to recognize the value that you bring because you're looking to share your value with this company, with this organization. And that's how you have to view it. You're not in the hot seat where, oh my God, are they going to hire me? Yes, that's a concern. But just think about it. They're also in the hot seat.
Yeah.
Because they have to make sure that they're hiring somebody that's qualified for the job, that has the competency to do what the job requires and also grow, that has the mentality and temperament not to just fly off the handle when something doesn't go their way.
Yeah.
So they're in the hot seat too. So you've got to really know your story and be able to articulate it in a way where they can say, okay, we need Dillon on our team. So yeah, we got to hire this guy. We got to find a place for this guy.
And it's such an interesting balance to strike between,
Yes.
Because in a way, you're aiming upwards because you're trying to get hired, but also, you're saying they need me too.
They need me. And that's where that confidence comes in.
Yeah.
And it's not cockiness, it's confidence, knowing that you bring value. You've brought value to the previous places that you've either worked, interned, volunteered, or even in the classroom. The value that you've brought to that team project. Yeah. So we've all had all of these experiences, even if you don't have the professional experience. So you got to recognize the value you bring, recognize that it is valuable to a prospective employer, and then, come in like that, not cocky. There's a big difference between confidence and cockiness, but you've got to have that confidence, and they recognize that, they see that.
And I know one thing that a lot of experts say is that, you need to research the company that you're applying for, different things like that. What are some green flags? What are some red flags when it comes to applying different places and saying, wait, maybe I shouldn't apply here, not because I wouldn't do well there, but maybe this isn't the company that, I should be working for?
And that's a good question. So even from the job search perspective, most students that have done job search appointments with me, one of the first things I tell them to do is create a list of 10 to 15 employers that you would like to work for. You may not know anything about them. Maybe they're just companies that you've heard of, big names that you've heard of. Start with that list of 10 to 15 companies. Do your due diligence and research them by going to their website. That is the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Go to their website. Read about what their values are. Read about what they stand for. Read about what they do in the community. What are their affinity projects? Like, are they interested in nature or in wildlife, or do those things align with your interests? That's how you're going to identify what a company is all about. You can find all that information out on their website. Once you do that, if you have the opportunity to go in for an interview, ask some of those questions about some of the things that are important to you to make sure that it's the right fit for you. Okay? It's more about the fit than the company. And then, in my opinion.
And then the fit would probably lead more naturally to gaining confidence and different things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because employers are also looking for people to be involved in volunteerism, just like you would, you put it on your resume, whatever you're doing as you're a student here. They're looking for people to do that in the professional environment too. Most of the companies and firms are good corporate citizens. They're active in the community. They might do some tutoring at a local elementary school. They might do some volunteering at the animal shelter. Whatever those things are those values that align with your values, look at companies like that.
Yeah. I
mean, that's one of the ways that you just find out about the company first, and you can make informed decisions about which ones to really pursue and apply with.
Yeah, that's interesting. I gotta weave that into my job search.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned volunteer experiences. I think a lot of times people, they just go for the internship or the opportunity where it's like, okay, this is going to advance me, but also I'm getting paid for it. But, where do you think the value lies in those volunteer opportunities? Because there's a lot more of them out there. And, how can students utilize that to their advantage?
So volunteer opportunities do a number of things for you. First, it gets you into whatever that environment is. You might be volunteering at the Crop Center or a community center in your town or whatever. You're getting involved in what's happening in that space. That's first off. You're also getting experience. You might be getting project experience. Through your volunteerism, you might be working on a specific project that they're doing. You're gaining experience and competencies by doing that project, you may not be getting paid, you may not be getting the recognition as if you were doing an internship or actually, being an employee of the organization, but you're getting valuable experience that you're tucking into your back pocket. You're adding that information to your resume, and it can be very, very valuable to a prospective employer.
Yeah.
Again, they want to see that you're more than just a student that's got a 4.0 GPA.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great thing. It's definitely something that you want to strive towards, but it's not the end all be all, because once you graduate, nobody's going to ask you what was your GPA in college.
It's very true. They're
going to ask you, what did you do? What value did you add? Okay. So yeah, it's important that you achieve academically. And this is the time and space to focus on that. But once you move on, it's really going to be more about you and what assets you're going to be offering to that company, that community organization. That's where the value is going to be. You're going to be able to articulate and communicate the value that you bring. Yeah,
that's interesting. And I think that kind of makes just memorizing for a test or, just like sleeping through an exam, it's like you end up just, if you're just so grade focused, it doesn't set you up for the rest of your career. Because ultimately, because even though we're excelling academically, it's like there's two different levels. It's just excelling on a base level, but then also, are you actually learning this material and applying it, that application?
And a lot of times employers want to see that you're a well-rounded student. So it's great that you've got a strong GPA. Absolutely, that is a good thing, because that's sending a message to them that you're diligent about your studies. But they also want to see that you're involved in extracurricular activities. They want to see that you're a leader, that you're maybe on the executive board of a student club or organization, that you're taking the initiative to exercise your leadership muscle and demonstrating that, where you don't have to, but you're doing it. You're taking the initiative to do it on your own. They want to see that. Yeah. They want to see that because they know that once they hire you, you have a propensity to do the same thing in their organization. When they're looking for somebody to promote, when they're looking for somebody for that special project, when they're looking for somebody to lead that community service project that the company is doing, they're looking for somebody that's going to represent them well. And you're laying that foundation while you're here as a student. So I encourage students, get involved, do your part. Yeah. And don't be afraid of raising your hand to say, okay, I want to be vice president, or I want to be president of an organization. You might not have a clue as to what you're doing, but that's why you're here. We're here to guide you. So there's faculty advisors for every club and organization. We're here to help guide you and help you navigate that leadership process, that road. And you're going to develop those skills because you're doing it. You're doing it. Yeah. If you are fortunate enough to be elected or appointed to be president, vice president, or whatever the role is, we're going to guide you and make sure you're successful in that space, as long as you let us. Yeah. But if you let us, we're going to help guide you in that. And that's building your confidence. You do it once, you've got the experience, you're like, okay, I can do this in my next club or organization. Or maybe I was the treasurer this year, and for next academic year, I'm going to go for president, or I'm going to go for vice president. But it's building that confidence, so you're setting that stage for your next. That's interesting, because I think a lot of times when you set your sights at high, you say, students, and I've said this to myself, they're like, well, I'm not ready for that. I want it, but I'm not ready for that. Do it anyway. Yeah, that's what I do it anyway. Reminds me of a phrase. I forget where I heard it, but there's either being scared or doing something while you're scared. Right. And that's the thing. You're in a protected environment here on campus which won't always be here. Which will not always be here. Yeah. So utilize the opportunities that are here on campus. It's protected. Like, we're here to help you. We're here to make sure that you're successful. Every staff and faculty member wants to see you successful. And we're here to help you do that while you're here on campus. You're not going to have that buffer once you graduate. Yeah. You're just not going to have that buffer. So whether it's student clubs and organizations or volunteer, whatever that is for you, do it now. Even with internships. Organizations, hiring managers, they're a lot more comfortable giving an intern a little bit more grace, a little bit more, rope, so to speak. And if you make a mistake, they know that this is a teachable moment and you're going to learn from this experience. When you graduate and this is your job, they don't owe you that second chance.
Yeah.
No, hopefully they will work with you and help to develop you. They don't owe you that, though. And they're so willing to do that and give you that extend that additional grace when you're a student, when you're an intern. It's a development process. Internships are what we call experiential learning. So yes, you're gaining that professional experience, but it's also a learning opportunity, a chance for you to develop professionally while you're on the job doing that internship. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. That's really interesting. So just that concept of grace, because you aren't always going to have that.
You will not always have that.
Yeah.
When you graduate and you're an employee, the expectation is you're going to step up to the plate and do what needs to be done at the level that they expect you to do it. And again, that's one of the reasons why internships are so important. So you're learning the ropes in the industry that you're looking to pursue.
Yeah.
For instance, I always talk to accounting students. They might say, I want to go into tax accounting, They might start doing taxes in an internship and realize, that's not for me. Maybe I want to look into the advisory space or audit or some other area of the industry. That's why you do internships. There's no strings attached for you or the employer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
After that designated period of time, your internship is over, you may part ways and never see each other again. But if you have dazzled them and shown them that they need you on your team, they might extend you an offer. So, but this is the reason for having these internship opportunities.
It's funny because that reminds me of a conversation I had not too while ago with my manager, where she was telling me about something. She was like, you're doing a great job, but when you get out of this space, this thing that you're doing, you can't do that.
Right.
So this is the time to learn how to, get that in line so that when you get to that next space, that grace may be there, but it may not be.
But it may not be.
Yeah. And it's not taking that personally and saying, okay, that is an area that I need to grow in.
That's just
for my own
reality.
benefit.
Absolutely. That's just the reality. And internships are a soft space for you to get some really, really quality experience, but still while you're in that protected space.
Yeah, that's great. We're out of time, but that was, I had so many more questions. We could have kept going.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank
you.
I
hope this has been helpful.
It's been helpful for me. I know that much.
Good.
Yeah, and is so just so that people know, where can people find you, different resources, or anything that you want to plug? Because I know, you're there to help.
Absolutely. So for our School of Business students, we are the SEED office, which again is Student Engagement, Empowerment, and Development Office. Mr. Dan Rosenthal, myself, Ms. Carla Mandel, we are the SEED officers, and we provide similar services, even though we each have our specific niche. Mine is internships, and they have others as well. So feel free to reach out to us for professional development, for career coaching. Obviously, if you're looking for an internship or want a little bit more information about the job search, feel free to reach out to me. Also want to plug our Campus Career Center. Yes. They're fantastic and offer similar services. So utilize the resources that are on campus. There is so much here for students, and a lot of times students just don't take advantage of that. So.
And I have been blown away, like literally, by the resources, and not just that they're there, but how thorough they are.
Yes.
Different, and I've had conversations with multiple people in the Career Center, with you, where you guys are like, we are literally here.
We're here, and we want to see students be successful. And that's why we're here. We're a resource for you. And I know my personal incentive for doing what I do has a lot to do with the resources that either weren't available to me when I was in school or resources I wasn't aware of.
Yeah.
So now I take it as a personal mission to make sure that students know what's out there, and we provide that, fill in that gap for students.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. As
You're
a student,
welcome.
Thank you.
You are welcome. You are most welcome.
All right. Well, that concludes our interview, and we're going to jump into a few more songs, close out the show. So enjoy those. The first track was picked by Miss Natalie here. It's Mary J. Blige, right?
Yes,
that's the one? Okay.
yes.
Yep. Just Fine by Mary J. Blige. We're going to get into that. And I'll see you in a few minutes.
Awesome.